Well, welcome to the Undressed Podcast today here at Mostly in Bali. I hope all of you guys are excited. I'm very looking forward to this because I'm curious to see how men and women are responding to this question and where we're going to take this from here. So in order to start, maybe this time we go this way around because usually we do it the other way. Just say your name and a quick introduction of what you want us to know about you.
Okay. I'm Anazalin. I am graphic designer, creative strategist, sound healer, living in Bali, in Ubud. Been here for 1 year and 8 months. That's it.
Cool.
Mike, lived here for 4 years. Traveled pretty much everywhere. I was like in Ukraine last week. Pretty interesting. Now I'm here. So
Short and to the point. I'm Shay. I am a writer. I teach feminine embodiment, communication skills, how to communicate more effectively in relationships. And I'm a dancer. I perform. And I've been in Bali for 9 years.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
old timer.
Old
Yeah.
timer. Yeah, it is a different universe now.
I bet.
Yes.
I am Yoshi, Bali-based since 2011. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, as well as a creative communications director, oriented towards community connectivity. Currently working on the crazy project over there in Yanni. Yeah, I think that's all for now.
Cool.
I'm Pete. I'm a professional musician for the last 10 years. Been living here for 3 of those. I work with breath and with the nervous system, help people to breathe better and live better. And I wrote a musical last year about all the shadows of the spiritual community. And it's really edgy.
My name is Unita. I'm a recruiter and I help people make their lives better through the work that they do. So, yeah, that's it. And I've been here for 4 years now.
Nice. Awesome. Let's start with you. Question.
Okay.
Is it okay to date and fool around with your friend's ex?
For me, I say it's situational.
So you don't want to make a decision?
Not yet. Situational, but if I had control over it, no, right? I could make a clear decision, but you can't control what your body, what your heart is telling you.
Okay, cool. Then let's change the question just slightly. Would you date or fool around with your friend's ex?
Depends which friend.
Ooh.
Okay.
Like how close you are?
No, totally.
I think it's true, right? I mean, depends which friend. If it was my best friend, no, absolutely not. If it was someone that I knew a couple of years ago, maybe I'd consider it.
Which one do I get?
The same question. All the same questions. Would
So
you date
would
and
I-
fool around with like your friend's ex?
I think also depends on the friend, depends on the time elapsed. I think we'll get more into it probably, but date, potentially yes, with the right communication. Fool around, probably no, because it suggests some kind of shadowy, kind of behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, yes and no.
Good distinction.
So contextual. It depends on who the friend is, how close they are, how long they've been separated with their ex, right? If they are on good terms with that person or they're even within the same community and it's like a relationship from 6 years ago, I would still run that by my friend and ask for their blessing. So I don't see a problem with it if the communication's there. If you're in the rebound sector, that's a whole different story. I'd say that's a no-go for me. By the way, I can say yes to that question, have been there, done that. There's a lot of ethics around it. And I agree, it's very situational and contextual.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint you further by agreeing. Like it's for me, it's contextual. It depends on, the friend, the friendship, the communication. I have a friend where he would be not only happy if I did that, he would want to join in. It's just, I can't say, no, I definitely wouldn't. for me, the essence is what is happening, how we communicate, how my relationship is with them. And yeah, at the root of it all is communication.
So I'm going to answer this in a way that's kind of confusing. So I think if I were a woman, I would in a heartbeat say yes. I would go ahead and like, if I'm dating a guy and the guy like fucks up and, you know, it's like now we're heartbroken, I would literally systematically go after every single one of his friends just to like spite him. Maybe.
That's a different question.
No, I know, but I'm answering in the way that feels resonating with me. You've been here for 9 years. I've been here for 4 years. So, you know, it's like what's present. And so if I was a woman, I would systematically go after every single one of the men, especially if this man has given me a set of just experiences in life that I haven't gotten before. So in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, well, it's either I go ahead and get with all of the high value men that he's introduced me to, or I just go ahead and go back home to, for example, my boring friends, the boring guy at like work, the boring person that's been stalking me on my Instagram every single time, right? So if I was a woman, I would generally wholeheartedly think that I would 100% go after like all the guy and all of his friends, especially if my other alternative just completely sucked and it was just like that weirdo stalker vibe that at work or school or whatnot, right? But on the other end of things, if I were a man,
Which you are.
which I am, if I were gonna go ahead and date a friend or date someone who dated my friend, I wouldn't actually respect myself because of the fact that like I didn't actually work myself enough to the point where I could actually have options. You know, I have like a lot of friends back in like high school and college where it's like there's this one girl that's been with every single one of those guys. And then one of my friends proposed to her. And I can't even imagine, like, I don't understand what it's like to be in a female point of view, but to be a man that walks a girl across the aisle, to go ahead and do vows, to go ahead and start a family with each other. There's something inside that doesn't feel right where there's like all these other guys that is also essentially kind of took a turn, right? And it's just weird. It's generally weird. Like I wouldn't be able to go ahead and respect myself or anyone else that actually goes ahead and, you know, does that, right? Like if I go ahead and, for example, date someone and one of my friends goes and dates the same person, like they would no longer be my friend, right? And to have a guy be so in scarcity where it's like there's all these women out there in the world and he chooses the one that essentially didn't work, then I would start questioning myself and who I actually allow in my inner circle. But again, this is just my opinion. I haven't been in Bali for 9 years. I've only been in 4 years. So I might not know anything.
Yeah. What is being
There's no good dating here, first of all. So.
I'm just more curious as to why, if you were a female, you would do things completely different and you wouldn't discard all of these friends. Like,
Can
you're
we
saying
also?
I'm still trying to hold some space for her because
Can
we're
we
trying to go
also
around in a
say
circle.
Women and like female is like a dog, and male. I don't understand when we say like female and then men. If you're gonna say female, say male, and then men, and then women. Personally, but I do agree. I want to ask you why with women, you're saying that they should date all of the friends associated with that guy because maybe back home they don't have other options. But then you're saying if you did the same, you would be thinking scarcity mindset. So why wouldn't it be the same?
How old are you?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Can I finish my question first?
Okay.
So why does it matter? Why would it change now that you're a male?
Okay, so in order for you to give you an answer that would actually make sense, I would have to ask you some questions. And since you were a little bit triggered when I asked you, would it be okay for me to ask you some questions? But I'm asking you a question now. Would you be okay if I ask you some questions? So how old are you?
27.
27. Now,
How old are you?
when you die, right?
How old
So
are you?
fast forward in the future. What do you actually want out of life? Because depending on what you want, my answer could be right or wrong. So what do you want? Like at the end of the life, as you go ahead and lay on the bed, right? What is like the most important thing to you as you close your eyes forever, never feeling everything or anything ever again?
I loved hard. I ate a lot of great food. I traveled. I had great sex. I made a lot of money for not only me, but my family as well, and everyone connected to me.
Okay, so family. Describe the family. Do you have like kids, or is it one husband, two husband, five husband, like
Or wife.
or wife? Okay, so with the kids and the family household, what do you see yourself near the end of the life?
My dream dynamic is I am married to someone. My dream dynamic actually be like a throuple, like 3 people in the household.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I'm just curious, like, have you ever met someone that has successfully done that?
No, I don't need to.
Okay.
I have.
How does that look like?
Actually, I do. My friend, what am I saying? My friend is in a successful throuple, and I love the dynamic because it is a male and they're like together, and then the girl gets to go explore with other women, and I think that's beautiful because when you think about having kids, I think it's going to be so lovely to have 2 women in the house to take care of children with, and the man can go do the work if he wants to.
Okay.
Because it takes a village.
It does take a village. I grew up in a village setting, so I believe that's the best way to raise children, personally.
I'd love to pull it back to the question
Yeah,
just
I'd love
a
to
little
hear
bit
your answer,
because
yeah.
so I'd love to like reset it. I don't know that Mike can answer that because he's a man.
Yeah.
And any idea of what he might do as a woman is a complete projection because the experience is totally different.
I disagree because as a man, you clearly can observe very obvious dynamics between men and women. So if I see multiple women exposing the same dynamics and patterns, then it's very obvious, like for me from the outside to see that
So
quite objectively, right?
Is that a characteristic of the women that you're witnessing, or is that a characteristic of the group mentality, community, and culture that they exist within?
It's both, but it doesn't take it doesn't take the responsibility of the woman away.
It doesn't take the
involved in that.
responsibility away. What I am getting at is that a man cannot necessarily know what it is to have the female experience, and even to observe their actions in a group setting still doesn't give you enough observation to state that you could 110% know what it is to be a woman in that situation, to have the experience of emotion that rises and falls, to have completely illogical responses sometimes, to deal with a moon and a 28-day cycle of hormonal fluctuation, where you ping pong between masculine and feminine states in that cycle. So there's a lot there. You can absolutely make an educated guess based on observation. However, I will stand by my statement that I don't think Mike can really explain it because he doesn't know what it is to be a woman.
Agreed.
So even though I agree with you, and I agree with you, I think what you said, the throuple, that actually sounds like pretty beautiful. Once I actually like heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that does sound nice. Yeah. And like, I agree with you as well, right? I do not know what it's like to be in a woman's body, nor do I understand like a woman's experience. But what I do know is like cause and effect, right? And I do understand that there are certain times in my life that I've been illogical and I've made permanent decisions based off of temporary emotions. And based off of making those permanent decisions based off of those temporary emotions, it did lead to some type of consequence, be it like good or bad, right? But in a longer time horizon, every single time it was bad, it did lead to like some type of lesson learned. And the lesson learned was always like thinking, oh, wish I knew that earlier on. But what I can tell you, right, in my deep going down the rabbit hole of spirituality, tantra, all of that stuff, there was a moment where I would go ahead and just travel around and essentially help facilitate a lot of tantra events, right? From either here in Bali or here in, like, for example, Malaga, Spain. And what I could essentially tell you is there was a lot of women in there because I essentially thought that I was going to go there. Oh, there's going to be beautiful girls. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to be like 18 years old. Everyone's going to be good. Everyone there was in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Okay. And I'm just like in my 20s, kind of just like, whoa, I didn't expect this. And I essentially saw the end result of people's belief systems through decades of time. And I think people don't understand this, right? I don't actually blame the women at all. I blame the fact that there was no strong men. Many of the times it's like most men are like weak. So obviously in terms of energy, if there's a weak man, the woman has no other choice but to become strong. Or if there's if you're dating a woman, right? Like there's a yin and a yang, right? There's like how in partnerships, it doesn't matter if it's a business partnership or any relationship dynamic. It's like, I admit that I suck and I'm weak at one thing in this relationship, business or relationship wise, right? So I expect the person that I'm in, be it a woman that I'm with in a relationship or, for example, a business person that I'm essentially doing a business with, for them to complement my weakness, same way how my strength would complement their weakness, right? And one thing that I've just realized is with the consequences of like diving deep in that relationship, no one understands that we have certain belief methods and models in our 18, 19, 20, 30 years old that we think are right, that I've literally seen the end result of. And I just saw a lot of women in for example, pain, right? Many times because they didn't have that strong masculine figure, be it if it's in a man or a woman, to go out and lead them. So they had to go ahead and build the strength themselves. Many times they thought, oh, well, this person looks happy, so they go ahead and model exactly what it is that person does. But maybe that person that they're modeling looks happy in a very short amount of time. If you literally fast forward it in a longer term time horizon, 10, 20, 30 years, that person's completely unhappy and unhealthy, and they're constantly blaming, and it's completely freaking sad. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because you don't know what it's like to see a woman in her 70s, in her 80s, just in pure pain because she can't go back in time. And it's completely unfair because men, we could have decades to go ahead and make mistakes and we'll be fine. We could still have the happy family. We could have, the white knight picket fence. We could test thruples or quadruples, whatever it is. But for women, it's like they have a short amount of time to make the right decisions. And if they make the wrong decisions because of lack of leadership in that household, then they're forced to live a life of complete pain. And that's why it's so unfair. That's why I'm so passionate about it. It's because if a woman understood certain things earlier on and didn't make the same painful mistakes as many women later on did, then there wouldn't be all of this trauma later on. Does that make sense? And I'm not blaming the women. It's just the fact that
women alone.
Yeah, I think, mate, you got it all figured out. So you can just chill for a bit and we'll let the women say what the women want to talk about.
I feel like the context you're speaking to is specific to, the conventional family, 2.5 kids in the house, and that technology is changing as well. If you are pushing past 35 as a woman, go and freeze your eggs. I have friends in their mid-40s having kids now, so it is still possible, and times are changing with that. In regards to beliefs, I hear you on that. I also feel like that age group and those generations are coming from an incredibly different time from the one that we exist in now. They came from a time that was fully immersed in the matrix, that they don't have the choices to change their beliefs, whereas we today have an insurmountable amount of accessibility to diving into our beliefs, to diving into what programs we've inherited or been given due to social constructs or the places we live or the cultures we grew up in. So I hear you on that for sure. And it is tragic. However, I'm not sure how relevant it is today.
it is extremely relevant because you could see someone's belief systems and you could see exactly the fruits of their labor. You could say that we have all this technology, but why are more people becoming more overweight? Why are more people struggling with finances?
I'm going to get real here. If somebody's 70, okay, and they're going through this pain, they've only got to put up with it for 2 more decades realistically. And their beliefs are going to die with them, especially if they haven't had kids. So, I hate to be the really black and white realist here, but that's the truth. And I feel like it's something that we have to wait for as well, patiently, that there are some beliefs we're just going to have to wait to die out with the generations that they are completely rooted into.
I would love to bring it back to the topic, even though there's so many rabbit holes here. And I'm basically rooting for everything that you're saying. I really love your rebuttal to what you shared. I want to summarize. So you're saying that because we have, as women, more scarcity in time and opportunity to reach certain goals that you see as part of our inherent nature, that would make it okay then to operate in a different ethical or morality system when it comes to sleeping with friends' exes. Is that what you're saying in terms of if I was a woman, I do this, and if I was a man, I do this? Is that where you were getting to? I just love to bookend that a little bit. Yeah, close the circle a bit.
Well, I'm actually hired to go ahead and open up the circle and actually cause some type of
no shit.
I'm just fine. I just like coming back around. So is that the point that you were making?
Okay, so the point that I'm making is in order for you to go ahead and fully understand the truth, you have to go ahead and understand the extremes, right? And in order to understand the extremes, you need to understand from the point of view of that other person. So I'm just saying from an expression of from what I've seen and what I've witnessed from the decades of pain because of one lack of decision that they had no truth in earlier on, cause a lot of pain. And the only thing that I'm speaking away here is if I was going to have a daughter, this is exactly what I would want her to do and know, just because of the fact that I've seen so many beliefs and philosophies on what women thought were right? Like, especially in this period of time, that decades later, seeing kind of the results of that, there was very, very little percentage chance of happiness. Maybe for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, it was happy. But like for me, like, I don't know about you guys, but the thing that I care the most about is relationships and having deep people around me. And when I die, to literally see just a bunch of mini me's around, like sharing the stories of all the lessons that I taught, as well as like me just being a good leader and a good provider and really protecting the people that I care about. Right. So again, that's me. I'm more traditional. Like I can't really speak to any other just like other alternative relationship styles, but that is what causes happiness for me. And in order for me to do that, I have to understand from the female perspective why they go ahead and do certain things so that I could go ahead and, for example, hold space, help her with certain things, as well as like leading her towards something that would actually be better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so again, why are you saying that means that in this context, in this question that's being asked, women should, or in your world, it would make more sense if women operate under different ethics and make different decisions around sleeping with their friends' exes?
Yeah, I'm just
Well, I'm
wondering
just-
how
I'm
that
just
results
really-
into
yeah.
happiness.
Yeah, like,
how
did all
I'm
of
just
that
thinking about
relate
this. Okay,
to
so
what
like
your answer
from all
was?
of the women that I've seen, again, from ages 18 to 30 to 40, okay, it's pretty similar. I'm talking about like long-term consequences after 40, right? The happiest woman that I've seen is actually someone with a big family, not the one chasing the career. Because then you fast forward it later on, like in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, the one that generally chased their career.
Oh, I've got it. Okay. So his point is, because I'm not sure
Women
we're
have
gonna
a
get there in
time
these next
limit
two-
on children,
in
and
these
they're going to
next
be
two-
happier with kids, is his point.
No, the point is that sleeping with friends' exes might be the best bet for women to find the right person to create a family, because it's a little bit more scarce back home. But with men, integrity is there. Is that it?
Yes and no.
The essence of it. I'm not saying that that's true.
No,
I do not
but
want that to
that's
be
what he
true.
says.
She's just trying to
That's-
summarize what he's saying.
No,
So if you
Yeah.
have a daughter, that your advice to your daughter would be
Just sleep with
I want
everyone.
you-
Sleep
I
with
want
as
you to-
many
all of your
people
I want you
as
to
you
sleep
can.
with every single one
Yeah.
of your ex's friends.
I did not.
because
My
No,
it
that's
is-
not. That's
Yes,
not.
that's
That,
advice.
no, that's
Sasha,
that's-
can you please can you communicate this in a way that someone
That's not
in
what
Bali?
he said. Actually,
That's someone in Bali.
I'm
It's-
trying
Okay,
to-
no,
We're just
can I just
people.
come here for a
We're
second?
just
How-
people.
because I haven't
wait,
Sasha.
give me one.
Living on this island.
that's not what he says. The
Okay.
point is observing these dynamics between men and women. Like from my own perspective, even right, you see a lot of women. They're chasing one man. They have been dating one man. Then they break up for whatever kind of reasons, and then you see very often that the same woman is trying to get into someone else's relationship, like creating a new relationship, a new dynamic in the same circle. Why? Because it's familiar. Why? Because it's a great lifestyle. So there's so many familiarities and things that are like, they're still aligned. Obviously, that friend, you know, these multiple friends that I have, like they're quite similar in many ways too, in terms of the energies that we carry, in terms of like how we operate in the world, the integrity that we have, the values that we carry. So I feel like there's a lot of things that are just aligned. And what he says is like, well, if you're a woman, right? It's not like what he wants to tell his daughter, but that's just what he would like do in order to like continue with the same cycle of this beautiful lifestyle and of these relationships that have been maybe nice, maybe not. Is that right?
One of
I
the
would-
things,
yeah.
there's something specific that you said. You said that if I was a woman, I would date all of my ex's high value friends, right? And when you said, as a man, why would I, like, you said something about like, yeah, embarrassed, or you said something about like loser, or like something like that, where it's like, what if my ex was a loser?
Because
Like,
I wouldn't personally, I
like-
wouldn't want to date
But then-
my ex's friends, because I believe the saying like birds all
Birds of a feather flock
flock
together.
together. Because if I'm looking at you and I see, oh, this relationship didn't work out.
I just don't understand and resonate with it because it's like
One
it's
second.
like I don't know what it's like to just be a normal average man, you know. So I understand
yeah.
the fact that like I'm just underneath the opinion of like everyone is like me and my friends, right? just
Which
like
is
traveling
wild.
around the
Life would
world,
be
making
great if
money,
that was-
literally protecting the women and making sure they're safe and
I'm just gonna come
provided.
in here, mate.
And
Just-
all
just
of
one
these
second.
things is
Just-
just, it's
you've
just
had a
like,
lot of
I don't even
allocation
understand this,
right
you
now.
know?
Jump
So,
Can
We-
you give the women space to talk?
okay, I'll
for a
give the
second?
women space to
I'd
talk.
love to like
Okay.
reword the question.
I'm gonna just jump in. So I just want to name one thing, just one little important piece of game theory here. Okay, so he's just dropped that he's been hired to come on and stir up the pot. Okay, so anything that you say is literally with the intention of stirring up the pot. So I just want to speak that at the table that nothing that's been said actually has any like depth to it. There's no actual.
Just FYI, no one is hired here.
Nothing's
Sure,
been said.
sure.
Just FYI.
We also had to sign release forms just in case anyone got really triggered by what's been said. So I just want to bring that in and just like level the playing field a bit here.
Because it's very contradictory. To
It's-
what you're,
The whole topic is contradictory,
But I-
right?
no, I'm from what he's sharing to the space that's being created is very contradictory. So I understand if no one is being hired, but I would understand if you were.
Oh, I'm hired.
I also just
But
think
I
the
wanted-
explanation
I'm hired. I'm not even here right now. Like you guys are all still in a breathwork journey right now, and someone's holding you and whispering in your ear and making sure you're
Do you
safe.
feel
I'm not
comfortable
here.
to still be here, or do you
Yeah,
feel
totally.
like
I think
yeah?
it's great.
I'm not quite sure if you are, because
No, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm just sitting here in my popcorn.
so
kind of
besides
thing.
the fact of like trying to like bring
I
some,
just wanted to name that just so no one takes anything too personally. Because there's a couple of bits being thrown around which are just, it's clickbait, you know.
I
what
just find it quite interesting is because the reasoning behind what you said has nothing to do with the real question. You know, like we're actually talking about, is it cool to fool around or date with your ex, but it has nothing to do with the end result of how you end up in life. Like, yeah, I think
Well, what do you
that-
guys want? Like again, so it really depends on what you guys want. So I'm like, so in my situation, so I could give you guys some context. So it's me, a bunch of people that make money, and essentially a girl. And essentially what happens is we're literally looking for a wife, right?
Yeah.
So in this moment of time, if a girl is going after one of my friends and she, like for some reason it doesn't work out and they split, naturally she would go ahead and try to go after all of my friends because of the fact that her only option would be
Not to feel like you, mate.
No,
That's-
okay. How about we
Wait,
take it from hypothetical to a
one
real
second,
situation?
1 second.
Okay,
I want a
so
real
real situation. I just
situation
want to
that
know,
you've
like out of
experienced.
everyone here, what is the type of partner that you want? I don't want to say man or women,
1
but what is the
second.
partner that you guys actually want, that
This
you want to
high
attract?
value man, like this, like we make money, and so she
Of
obviously
course, she must want all
obviously,
of
if
my
we break up,
friends.
she must go after
Yeah,
all of my friends
'cause me and my
7
guys
billion
are the
people, there
best.
can't be other people that she would
Like-
possibly align with. Like personally, for me, if
I don't know.
if I break up with someone, I have no interest in
To
dating.
stay in that
I don't know,
circle.
there's-
To stay in that
but
circle.
for
I
me
want to get as
also,
far away from that circle.
I'm like, there's so much ego behind that statement.
Yeah.
Of like, my friends are so great. Of course, she would want to date all of my friends.
Like beautiful that you think of
Like-
your friends in that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just.
But then you also
it's
said
an
that
interesting
if someone got married and you saw that, you would be like, but everybody got a pass. So I'm not really understanding.
Also, can I just there's a really big elephant, and this is because the Virgo in me really, really likes details in communication. You're actually answering the question, would you sleep with your ex's friends, not your friends' exes? Different question. Kind of.
Yeah,
We're actually
also.
answering the question, would you sleep with your friend's ex?
I wouldn't sleep with my friend's ex.
No, he
Oh,
answered.
there we go.
He very
Let's
clearly,
move
but
on.
like just FY, he very clearly said that.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't even look into his own eyes and would not even respect himself because out of an element of integrity to himself and to
No,
his friends,
I'm saying
he wouldn't date.
the way
He
the
wouldn't. So he
question
very
is.
clearly answered that,
He
right?
did. He answered
Okay,
that
cool.
one. Yeah. But then there's the other question, your ex's friends. To me, that's a different question. Would
That
you
is
sleep with your
completely
ex's friends is a different question to would you sleep with your friends'
Friends'
exes?
ex,
And about the women part, that you've been answering the question, would you sleep with your ex's friends? That's where this whole conversation was going toward.
Wait. Would
It's
you
a very
sleep with
different
your
thing.
ex's friends?
It's a very different thing.
It's
yeah.
a different thing.
It's
Sleeping.
totally different.
Yeah, it's totally
and,
different.
and that's what he was answering. Would you sleep with the person you were with, their friends?
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
woman, oh yeah, I would probably sleep
I
with
value.
the person I was
Yeah.
with, friends. So,
No,
do
you
know what I
wouldn't.
mean? He was, but he was answering
He
that
was answering
question.
a different question.
Yeah, but
yes.
basically, if you answer one question, you answer the other one too.
Are
because
you?
if you have the
necessarily.
same-
No,
if-
you don't.
I think you
That's
do.
different
No.
context, though.
Yeah.
Different context.
same levels of values.
It's not
Not necessarily.
No, because
I think so.
the loyalty system
For a
you
man,
have with
so,
your
so now we're
friends
going
is
like
for a
between,
Okay,
man.
now we'll go.
right?
All
Now
right,
we're
yeah.
going between like men and women,
Men and women.
right?
very
Obviously,
different.
it's very, very different.
Yeah.
So the fact that you already like, no, it's very different. Like a man doesn't look at it this way.
Okay, but there is space for us to say that it is very
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah,
Therefore,
fair enough.
solidifying
But, like,
the
that doesn't
difference
discount
between
any
the
of the
female and male experience.
If you had a girlfriend that you broke up with, and then
Yeah.
she had a hot friend, would you sleep with her?
Would I sleep with my
Girlfriend's hot friend.
Your
Ex-girlfriend's hot friend.
yeah
In a
well,
heartbeat.
But there you go.
See?
Different
Yeah.
So
question.
then,
So you would. It's a different
Different
question. See? Like different, because also the loyalty we have to our friends is very different to the loyalty we have to exes.
To an ex, yeah.
yeah.
And we might have
Depending
very
on the
strong
context.
loyalty to an
Though.
depending
Totally.
on the ex.
Exactly. It depends.
Because I have
It's so
exes that I
contextual.
wouldn't want to hurt them.
I have exes that are super good friends of mine that I still talk to all the time and we're in touch with, and that would totally be a no-go zone without pre-discussion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even coming back
So
to
what
the
do you-
original question, I'm going to preface with like, I'm not religious, but if I were along the lines of anything, it'd be Taoist. I don't believe in good or bad or right or wrong. It's all contextual because life is. I wouldn't say whether or not, like, is it okay to sleep with a friend's ex? I mean, everything can be okay. It's about how you do that.
Yes, that's
Right?
where the juice
This is where the juice is of
Yes.
how do you do that? Are you being authentic? Are you looping your friend in and checking what their boundaries are? How is your relationship with that person? Have you talked to them in the last 4 years? Because then maybe you don't need to ask. But if you hang out with them once a week, then you definitely need to talk about
Yeah.
it. Right? So, I mean, again,
So
I
let's
feel
go-
like everything can be
let's
okay.
go
It's
further
about
with
how
that.
you do it.
yeah let's go further with that.
The how.
So now you have the new friend, right? And you talk to your friend about that ex. They've been together, and then it's like, I kind of have a little bit of feelings. And that other person, your friend, says like, I don't like it. But you have these feelings. What do you do?
You
Because
discuss
now you're
it.
going back into this element of integrity, right?
Well,
it's like,
then you
I'm going to
discuss it.
continue
Okay.
with like whatever I
So,
feel in this moment.
Sasha,
And
let's
No,
do a
there's
live
a-
trial of this. I want to date your ex.
it's like, I don't really like it.
Okay. Why don't you like it? What comes up for you that is causing discomfort or disease to you?
There's no disease in here. It's just
No.
like there's certain elements of like
but
the
what is
the
it that you
respect
don't
that I
like?
would like to keep in our relationship. And if we're starting to mix our intimate partners, I feel like that foundation of integrity is just broken.
Okay, so there's a quote that I really love about love, okay, and partnership, which is that to love someone, to truly, authentically, like unconditionally love someone is not to love them until death do you part, but to love them through observation and witnesses of the multitude of funerals you stand at as you watch the person they were die and watch the birth of who they are becoming. So for me, I have to disagree with you because I've seen how people change and I've seen how people evolve, and they are not the same people 3 relationships down the road. And the intimacy that you had with that person was with a different person.
Absolutely.
And
Sure.
the intimacy that they could have today, 3, 4 relationships later, you might not even be able to comprehend because of their own process. So I come back to my question of what is it that is making you uncomfortable about me dating your ex?
I already answered it.
You just don't like it. Why don't you like it? Because of the integrity? So what
Yeah.
is out of integrity there?
The out of integrity is like there's no need. There's like hundreds and millions and billions of people in this
Sometimes you
world.
have an authentic connection with one person.
Yeah, but like, how much are you willing to potentially sacrifice that relationship, that friendship that we have for this romance that might very likely also not going anywhere?
See, if
and
it was
you
a really
using
good
that-
friend of mine, a really good friend would ask me that. And we would dive into that of like, what is this connection you're feeling? And
Right.
I would have the
Mhm.
space to say,
Mhm.
well, I'm being emotionally seen in a way in all of my life experience that I have not experienced yet. And I know that this is really touchy for you. Do you feel comfortable if I talk about it, or is it too sensitive?
I love the quote that you said, and it reminds me of Bell Hooks. I don't know if it derives from that, but her definition of love is just like your commitment to nurture someone's growth, and that means that changes everything when it comes to love. So if a friend came to me and said that and proposed that to me, I'm going to view it as hopefully, or I'm thinking this person is going to nurture something in you that you see. And I love that for you.
Yeah.
And I can go through my journey of being uncomfortable with whatever that brings to me. But I love that for you.
And also, like, there's a choice point, right? If that friendship shifts because of that, and there's still love there, but the friendship shifts. Again, it's like friendships always shift. They move. They like relationships do that. And if the friend was just like hard, no, like sometimes the friendship might end, but that's okay.
Yeah. So here's what you're saying. So you would sacrifice, potentially put that risk on that friendship that might be there for like 10 plus years, 15 years, 20 years, like a lifetime.
Time loyalty means nothing to me with friendships.
Fair enough. So you would still, like, in essence, what you're saying is you would potentially risk and sacrifice that friendship for that romance that you don't even know if it's going to go anywhere.
It's so contextual. Again.
We're both risking it.
Yeah. The friend would be sacrificing.
No, the friend is just very clearly, after all these beautiful conversations and whatnot, like, you know, is still saying, look, I don't want that. I don't like that. If you want to continue to do that, fair enough. Then that's like basically you sacrificing that.
There is a potential reality where that would be fine with me.
Yeah, and that's and then what I'm saying is for most men that have a certain level of values, they would not sacrifice a 10 plus year friendship for a romance with another girl when they can have hundreds of other girls all around them all the time.
I completely disagree. And I feel like it's like the value of that friendship about how real and willing are you like how real and willing are you going to be with your friend? Like if you want that friendship to go beyond 10 years, the real friendships are not made in the happy love light having fun. It's made in the deep dark. I am trucking through shit.
Exactly.
I can't get myself out of bed, and that friend is there making sure that I am like
remember
eating
when you
and
dated my
sleeping.
ex and it was so hard?
It's all beautiful.
I remember how
that's
we
not the
worked through
friendship
that.
for me anymore. Then
It's all beautiful, but at the end of the day, the foundation of your friendship still starts with the foundation that you have within yourself.
But also, I think that there's this element of control, right? You're trying to control
It's
an
not
external
control.
situation that you actually have no control over. Like,
Yes.
I have no
True.
control if I have a connection with you, right? If you were my ex's best friend, if this happens, I have no control over that, right?
You do have a lot of control over
can,
that.
she has
but
the control
also
to resist
it. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Well, there's
right?
also
And then it doesn't mean that I can't want to openly share that and say, this is something that I'm feeling. Can you support me in exploring that?
so you
and
put
where
your
are your
own,
limitations?
and I
right?
just told you my limitations.
And your limitations are also potentially hindering me from finding maybe my person,
Sure.
right? Like,
Okay. So you just said,
Yeah.
I just wanted to listen to everyone, and it was like
Yeah.
so beautiful. So you said person,
yeah,
right? Finding your person.
yeah.
I'm just like very curious because I'm trying to understand like what everyone,
What it is that I would like.
what does everyone else want? Because
Yeah.
I'm only expressing very selfishly
Mhm.
like what I want. Okay, so I'm just like really curious. You said person.
Yeah.
You're having this conversation with Sasha and breaking his heart, and he's just like, but baby, no, like, and you want to go ahead and date his friend because maybe that might be your person. I'm just curious, what is that person if you were
in a
gonna?
personal, like if it was me and I'm talking to my best friend, I would not risk my friendship if I didn't know that this was real. I wouldn't do it if I was just fucking around. Absolutely not. If this was something that I was like fuck, I cannot let this go. I cannot not explore this. I will make a sacrifice. I will have a conversation. And also, I think my best friend is also a reflection of me, right? So if I can't have that conversation with my best friend, that's not my best friend, because she wouldn't trust, or he wouldn't trust that I'm acting out of alignment with who I am, with how I feel. I wouldn't do something like this if I wasn't certain.
So what
can you be
what would a man's qualities?
Because you
what
feel
would,
that.
Okay,
I'm
so
a woman. I have intuition.
What would, with your intuition,
Yeah.
what would the man's characteristics and qualities, what would he need to have for you and your intuition to know that actually, okay, like I need to have this hard conversation with my friend? What would those characteristics and qualities need to be in the man?
I think that doesn't actually matter.
I was going
It
to say,
doesn't
how is that
matter
relevant
It's
right
not
now?
relevant.
who this is. It's like
It's
if
a nice
I'm,
question,
if I'm
but I want
saying,
to
yeah,
know
I
that's
mean, I would love
relevant.
to dive into that, but that's not the topic. The topic isn't who am I looking for. The topic is am I willing to have a really hard conversation with my best friend when I feel every fiber of me says this is something I need to explore.
I think that comes back to the original question, which is like, would you date / fool around with? Because the
Yeah.
date part is like,
Date
I'm only
is
gonna,
serious.
if it's a good friend, I'm only gonna approach and have that conversation if it's like, it's fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, and if the fooling around
Fooling
is
around, I
forbidden
wouldn't-
fruit.
I'll
Like
keep that in
that-
my head.
it's
like,
lusty,
That's what my
you
my
know?
journal and my diary.
Fooling
Yeah,
around
yeah,
not
that's
something I
fooling-
do,
yeah, fooling
so
around
it's
is
out of my
fantasy.
realm of
Like-
reality.
Perfect. So all of you guys would say the woman, like you're not fooling around.
No,
No. So every person you're dating
if it
is
was
a
my
serious
best
thing
friend,
that you think like, that could be the one.
if it was serious, yes. If it was like for my best friend, absolutely. Like
It's funny because earlier when we talked over
We were
there,
talking
you
about
said
it.
like with my best friend,
With
I would
my-
never do
Yes,
that,
I
and
would
now all of a sudden
never.
it's different.
Yeah, but I would never unless I knew. I don't if I could make a perfect world, I would choose not to, right? I would choose not to have a hard conversation with my best friend. If I could say that if I could choose to not be attracted or to not feel drawn to someone, of course, I would love to respect what they had and their relationship in their past. But if this is something that's so strong within me, I have to choose my happiness as well, because I'm not going to also live my life for someone else.
So in the
I have to
past,
choose my
in the
happiness.
past, when you felt drawn to like certain people,
Mhm.
what would then those qualities and characteristics that they had that you naturally felt compelled to?
Why does that matter?
It's a
Because you
trap.
might want to make the point that those
Okay.
qualities exist in other people that don't have to be your friends.
100%.
Is probably the point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
if
that is not.
wasn't- Okay.
So I was asking you a question.
A level of safety, right? I was asked earlier how it is that I feel with someone new that I'm seeing. My nervous system feels at ease. I feel comfortable. I feel no separation between he and I, right? If this was someone that was my ex, my best friend's ex, like shit, to even get myself in that predicament would be, I would have to, be putting myself in a situation, right? To be spending time with them, to be doing this. And it's a whole other thing. But at the same time, it's like, that's how I feel, right? I don't know how this situation happened, right? We don't know. And that's why we keep on saying it's circumstantial.
And for a man to make you feel safe and secure, which you said this is like what you want, what would his behaviors and the way that he treats you, like what does that look like?
Words and actions in alignment.
Needs to be a high value man.
It's a high value man.
Lots of money, high
100%.
value. Very high.
Also high value.
The
and has
highest
lots
of
of money.
value.
No.
Highest of the value.
But at the same time, it's I mean, he could be a broke man and do the same thing, right? This is what I'm saying. Who it is to me doesn't matter. But what it is that I'm saying is that how I feel really does matter. And in this life, I have to live my life for me. And if the people that I specifically choose in my life, even if it hurt them, they would support me. And I would do the same for them.
So I think what you said is like very
Yeah.
beautiful. It's like you said, for a woman to feel loved, she needs to feel like safe and secure, right?
Mhm.
From a man's point of view, in order for us to feel loved, we need to be respected.
Mhm.
So those are two different things, right? It's like a woman could just feel safety and security and she'll feel love. A man, I don't need to feel, the woman doesn't need me to make me feel safe and secure for me to actually love her, right? It needs to be respected.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, that is why I said, right? It's like you have men and women, going back to the original question, is for a woman to go ahead and feel safe and secure and say she wasn't, she didn't have an online business yet. She wasn't like traveling. She wasn't doing all these amazing, cool things with her coaching businesses and art business and all these things. If she was just a girl that was like in high school or college and she found one of these guys, right? And she fell for him, but the soul contract was essentially ended. and she only had the options of either him and his friends or, for example, the people around them. What I was naturally saying was, if I was a woman, I would go ahead and choose that if those are the only people around me that actually have the potential to give me safety and security, because everyone else around me are still little boys that, want to split the bill, that want to go ahead and, fight over meaningless things. And when I'm feeling emotional, instead of them, holding me and feeling safe and secure, they have very little emotional intelligence where they essentially just start arguing with me and essentially become a woman. So now you have two feminine energies going and there's no solution. But in a man's point of view, the reason why I wouldn't go ahead and date a woman that has already been with one of my friends is because it plays to my need of what it feels like to actually feel love, which is respect. And if a woman is going after me and I value my friendship with my friend so much, it doesn't matter what me and her feel. It's because at the end of the day, if we're looking back at that safety and security to protect you, we need loyal brothers around us where when shit hits the fan, and if there's a lockdown and you need to go ahead and get someone to go ahead and jump in the ocean, to go ahead and kill something, to go ahead and protect and provide for you, to make you feel safe and secure, I'm going to need someone to go and watch my back. And I wouldn't want that on my woman because I want her to essentially be safe and secure. I would want someone loyal to me to go ahead and go out there in the wilderness to take this animal and essentially bring it back to her and the family, right? But that's essentially what I meant. It's like, I wouldn't risk that, nor would I date that, because then there's no respect. And at that point, it's like, I wouldn't want her to feel safety and security because it's like, I don't feel respect. But on the other end of things, of course, why would you women respect a man if he has no ability to go and feel like allow you to feel safe and secure? Does that make sense?
Thank you for explaining more and bringing that back around. That was really well said, and it fulfilled my need of like tying up things. No, it was really beautiful. And what arises in me is this idea of like the, respect, integrity. I know that sits within, I can't say that in certainty, I know. From my belief system and the way that I operate, I feel strongly that does sit in a male's body very differently to how it sits in a female's body, and what we move toward and what we're driven by. And respect, integrity are extremely strong, as strong as connection and nurturing, or this desire to nurture as a woman in many ways. And what I want to like look at is the only way to be respected to be like, no, I'm not even looking at her, bro. I'm not even looking at, I respect you. Maybe there's another universe where respect looks like talking to your brother, and your brother respecting you looks like respecting the love that's blossoming somewhere else. Is that possible? Is that available in these brotherhood relationships?
So one of the things that I want to ask you, thank you for like hearing everything that I said, is at the end of the day, right? It's if a man is willing to break ties with, for example, a brother for this emotion that he feels for example, this woman, right? Then what you have is a man that could easily be manipulated in times of struggle, where then it threatens your safety and security. Like if you would to choose between two men, one man who his main intention is to make you feel safe and secure, right? And another man who will make you feel safe and secure, but if someone can emotionally get him emotional and cause him to not do things that were expected from him as a man, as a provider, as a protector, which man would actually make you feel safe?
It's interesting because, again, the point you're making now is like juicy to me. And I'm like feeling pulled into it. And then also there's, again, like integrity and respect. Does it only mean by sticking to this is only what I'll do and all I'll do and that's it? And so integrity, respect, I'm a solid pole and I'm unmovable. I get that. I get that energy is what we're drawn toward. I'm very drawn toward it in someone that like even I'm connecting with, and for whatever reason, like he's holding the pole of resistance in some way. That's a way bigger thing to open up that to actually make that make sense. But like there's something in as well respecting and trusting a man who's deeply trusting himself and staying in integrity with himself enough to also like move as he moves through life and as his belief systems move and as his friendships shift, and like not like I am friends with Bill because we've been friends for 15 years and I'm his bro. Maybe that friendship's completely toxic and horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I would want my man to be in such deep alignment with what feels really true for him then to make a different decision and shift. And that could from the outside look like he took away this solid pole that he was holding, but I would respect him valuing that part of himself more in that moment, you know?
I think can I just
in terms of what you were talking about, in
Just
terms
gonna say
of
one thing, bro.
like
You've been talking about
the long-term relationships when it
It'd be
comes
great
to
to say something.
just
Yes, so much
doing
brotherhood.
these things.
This is high
and-
five, you know? Can I answer?
yeah,
Shay?
so
Would
it's
you-
just
which- who
it's
would
just
you
like
prefer to
this
hear from,
thing
Shay?
that
High value men speak.
I don't even understand. Sasha, have you?
Shay,
I'm
would you
loving
like-
this.
What are
to
your
be
thoughts
honest.
on everything that's said? Because
Someone is
actually,
trying to share
one
your
thing
knowledge.
that I'm very excited about.
him a
One thing
moment.
that I'm very excited about is Sasha's parents have literally created one of the most beautiful relationships that I've ever seen, and
Is
one
there
of
a
the things
reason
that
why
I
I'm
wanted to
sharing
know.
and you're choosing to ignore that and talk about Sasha? Like what is happening
feels
with you,
so
in you right
rude.
now is
Yeah,
like
it's really rude.
ignoring a brother, your brother. Right?
You're just pointing at a random man and calling him my brother.
I'm not
You
calling
you literally just said
the
you-
brotherhood. The you're my
like
sister.
We're
Okay.
sitting at the
You're my
same
sister.
table.
So if
You're my sister.
Totally.
See, but
If I'm-
that's a whole nother story.
But it's a whole nother story. But I'm saying, what is happening within you that someone is speaking, someone
you're
that
gonna
I'm.
ignore him.
You're just ignoring
Yeah,
him.
you
And
can look
going
at me
over
as well.
Here. Like,
Yeah.
is there what is happening within you right now that you just cannot look at him?
I'm essentially telling you that I'm speaking.
Can you look at me? Is that possible?
He's actually
Oh,
asking
I'd love
you.
to add in here. So, like, the whole conversation from Mike, what stood out to me was this one statement that we are just going to ignore our feelings
Yeah.
that are happening. Okay. So, we want to talk about integrity. You're talking about integrity with your brotherhood. How about integrity to the self? What do you have to even offer a partnership if you can't be honest about how you're feeling and to share those feelings with your brothers?
Yeah.
Then what kind of brotherhood do you have?
Yeah.
I'm calling farce.
Yep. And also, what is your end goal? Do you want to end up with your bros, or do you want to actually have a partnership that's meaningful and create a family? Like, because it sounds to me that it sounds like bros before hoes, right? And that's it. Like, nothing else is important.
This makes me think of the idea that men don't date who they want to actually be with. They date who they think their brothers would want them to date and approve.
Whoa.
No.
I'm not saying that. I'm
That's
just saying
not
it made me think of
I hope that's-
that statement.
This is actually, it's the complete opposite.
No,
Really?
I'm just.
It's absolutely 100% the complete opposite.
You don't
A
want your
man
bros to
wouldn't,
like that.
no. A man wouldn't care. Let's say, like, very hypothetical example, right? You go into a club.
Mm.
He finds this beautiful woman. He's not going to ask me. He's just going to take her and take her home if that's like, what he desires.
No,
A
but I'm
woman,
thinking,
wait. A woman, when she goes into a club, she sees this cute boy. She goes to the toilet, goes to the restroom, talks to all her girlfriends, like, oh my God, have you seen them in this and that? She
Looks up their
wouldn't.
Instagram, Googles him. Yeah.
Exactly. So who really like needs the approval of their friends?
So-
Is it the man or is it the woman?
that's friends
I
think-
approval though,
Yeah.
but
Right?
we absorb. You guys ever hear that saying, we are a makeup of the 5 people we keep closest to us?
Yep.
So that is not conscious. That is subconscious. And correct me if I'm wrong, Shay, but what I feel like she's getting at here is it's not about you seeking like the actual approval from your friends, that you choose women with characteristics that you have subconsciously absorbed, you think are within this category that would be approved by your friends. It's not something that you're going to the bathroom to chit chat about. It's like, oh, this is what everyone's looking for. So that's the standard that I'm going to keep in
It's
my
another
head.
level
But
of
I'm
matrix.
looking.
Yeah,
This will
I-
make me happy.
She
Totally.
made that point.
Come on, please.
I was very surprised by that point.
Yeah.
Was what like that whole part over there. I
But
was
you
like,
kind of
oh,
agreed,
really?
right?
Yeah, I agree. I
Right?
agree. for sure
Instagram,
that,
checking
like,
him out, stalking a little bit,
I
making
think-
sure his friends
I
are
think
okay.
women
like,
want more approval
that's where
from
the
their women
safety
friends
comes
than
from
men
to
do.
agree.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
Yeah,
not a
but that
fucking
basically-
weirdo, you know?
no, I'm understanding, but that basically discounts the whole point that you made before, which is perfect.
I didn't make that point.
I made the point.
My bad.
She made that point. That's why I'm
So-
like, Oh, okay. Why are we
Sorry.
directed
And
at
when I
me
say
now?
approve,
Sorry.
I'm saying for like different reasons. Like maybe they find someone that's not conventionally attractive to their friend group. But they would rather date someone that's hot because it makes sense within their brotherhood friend group. Because of high value men must like, I'm just speaking in hypotheticals from
Yeah.
what she said. That's why I made that statement. And I've observed it many times.
I think it goes back to like what kind of brotherhood do you actually have? If you have a really deep core relationship with your brothers, then that wouldn't be the case that you pick someone just because she's hot or just because she has like, XYZ. Like the character traits and the way how like he's actually enriching your life is so much more important than like these physical standards. Let's say she's hot.
Okay, but what are the terms that this brotherhood is built on? Are they built off? Are they built off like a generic bro code, or is it built off like I actually can talk with my brothers?
I
as it
mean,
would
talking
be?
Right?
is
The
brotherhood.
No,
That's
wait.
what I'm
Okay,
talking about.
let's talk about one concept that I, for example, have in all my brotherhoods, and like even like in my basketball team or whatever. It's called tough love, right? So we call each other out on our bullshit all the time. We have tough, uncomfortable conversations all the time, So this is without a doubt. You can't have a solid brotherhood if you can't have like truth as a baseline of a foundation where you can really literally put transparency to everything that you discuss.
With growth as the intention.
Absolutely. So, but as a man, you also need to have a certain frame that you need to hold for yourself, certain standards, certain values, certain principles, whatever, that then will ripple out into your relationships, into your brotherhood, into your friendships and everything else. So if you in your brotherhood, in a really core, solid brotherhood is like, look, we don't date each other's exes, that's just not necessary.
Unless that's your future
But if
wife.
that's but hang on. But if that's if that's a spoken agreement that we've all sat down and
It doesn't
made,
need to be
Also-
spoken.
but if it's been,
doesn't
but
need
if
to
it
be
has
spoken
been,
about.
but if it has been,
It should be spoken
if
about.
it's been spoken and
it's
then I
not
do it,
communicated,
then it's out of
it's not
integrity.
real.
Yeah,
I don't
then
think-
it's exactly then it's out of integrity because you've all
'Cause
made an
you've
agreement,
spoken
right?
and
But it's
made
not
an agreement.
Like this, everyone is in agreement
we
that
can-
we're
you
not
can even
supposed
talk
to date
about
each
it.
other's exes.
You don't need to talk about this. This is just some ground rules. They don't even need to be discussed.
Yeah.
Of course, everything needs to be
Everything needs to be
discussed.
discussed, yeah.
Everything needs
Everything,
to be discussed. There's
because-
space for everything to be
Yeah.
discussed.
100%, because whenever we're entering the territory of we don't need to speak about this is just natural law and order, then we have assumptions and expectations and unsaid wants and needs and shadows, boundaries, things that are not expressed but assumed. So we assume it. And so then relationships get sticky. And if you look at like most of the issues in relationships, they're due to not actually communicating properly
Correct.
and assumption-based behavior. I thought it was okay to do that.
Yeah.
No, of course it's not okay to do that. Don't you think, because in my value system, it's not okay to do that, but we've never actually spoken about it because it's good to just have this assumption that, that's just how
Well,
it
that's
is.
integrity.
Yeah.
That's integrity. But no, being in integrity is, again, like that frame that you talk about. Well, some of the most strong and unyielding frames actually are movable. They're the ones that's how you want a frame in an earthquake, things that move and bend. So there's like space within that. And again, is that frame from an outside, like, this is a rule, or coming from internally the frame of how you're in
Are
integrity
your
with
beliefs
yourself?
true to your own?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Exactly. And creating space
And
to
having
hear
the space
what
to talk
everyone's
about it,
beliefs are.
even if I'm triggered or whatever. But it has there's space for everything to be.
Because
communicated.
you could
Of course.
have that conversation in your brotherhood, like, brothers, let's sit down and actually, rather than have this unspoken thing, hey, like, guys, I'm operating with this unspoken thing that you just don't do this. But what is it? Someone could be one of your brothers could be like, oh man, I have like my ex would be so perfect for you, and I love you so much, and I really think that you two should be together. And I want to celebrate that, and I want to probably he'd say it in a little bit more like masculine. Celebrate that for you, honey. No, but I mean, like, how, and that's the thing with assumptions and expectations. You're then limiting possibility. You're limiting magic to happen. You're limiting beauty, which could be right there for you.
So
It's an assumption in itself, because if you have your frame, whatever that is, right, whatever the value system is that you have in your group,
Well,
respecting that also can create a bunch of magic that won't happen when you like sway around. It's like,
But
now
no,
I feel
but
this way.
that
and
needs
now
to
I
be
have
talked
this
about.
emotion,
Not
right?
talked
So it is
It's
an assumption
true,
to have that.
also
And that's like
does-
where men and women are very different. I don't know how you feel about that. about the whole integrity thing in brotherhoods
Well, like I
and
kind
like
of,
dating
yeah,
exes and whatnot.
So, I kind of alluded to it before, but for me, I think we've talked about integrity. Okay, integrity to myself, and are my values truly my own? Like, have I decided on them, or have I like adopted them from a system that I then think is mine? Like, if you're just saying that's integrity, I can't do that. It's like, but is that truly yours? Tell me why. Tell me the deeper level of why. And then we'll see if it's true integrity, or is it like I'm using integrity as a front to not talk about the
This is
wounding
all
that's going to
surface
bring
level.
with
Like,
me.
how are you actually feeling about that whole topic? Because right now it's just like a more surface, like, oh, we don't know how this is, and now we have to look. Is this really true? How are my values and whatnot? Like,
I think
what are
that's
your
not
values?
So what's the
surface.
clear
I think that's
question?
very
My
deep.
values.
What are your values, and how are they applying to this question? Would you date your ex's? Your friend's ex?
Would you date? Wait,
Hold on.
You can't
Would
date
you?
my ex. I'm trying to give him like a real world scenario because we're friends. But would you date your friends? Oh yeah, we're
You
not
guys-
we're not
You
male
can't, yeah.
friends.
No.
Yeah. Sorry.
Look, probably not. And I still like playing in the gray zone on this one, because it's like, it depends on how, like, if it's 6 years ago and he's not really actually my friend and we knew each other way back.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
we're talking about your friends right now.
okay, so define friends. Right now, like, they're in my life.
People in your
We meet
brotherhood.
up.
Let's just
Cool.
be like, whoever you call and put into your brotherhood, whatever that is, would you do that?
Probably not. But if it felt like fucking really, really like, yes, and he was also even alluding to the fact of like, yeah, bro, actually, I think that would be a really good fit, then potentially.
So even that
If
is
there's
not
if
clear.
there's open communication, but it's like
Yeah.
there would need it's not like it's
But
not
what
it's
means
not black and white.
potentially? But what means potentially? If you're like, it's a clear fucking yes with this woman.
It's a
and I'm
potential
talking to
question,
him,
though.
and he gives you no, but like it goes back to, it's like, do you do it? If he says like, yeah, you would go for it, and she is like the dream woman or whatever, you said like potentially yes. So even there, you're already like questioning your integrity.
No.
So
you
no,
see,
no, no,
for
no.
me-
I'm
for
actually
me, it's
stating what
being
my integrity
within
is.
in integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go
Because
both
it's not
ways.
black
It's
or
not-
white.
That's
Yeah,
not
it's
integrity.
not-
I
going
feel
both
like, yeah, so
ways.
if you're giving a very black and white
Yeah.
Which it
scenario,
is.
no,
It
it's
is.
not.
That's
It's
your
not.
view.
not.
No, no.
I think it is.
That's your view of what
It
integrity
is
means.
like it's a gray area and it's super circumstantial and depending on context. This does not fit into black and white for me whatsoever.
It
Any
can't.
of this topic.
It's
at all,
already not
actually.
black and white because we put our hands up. That we put our hands up made it not black and white.
Because there's more than
So I'm
your
really curious. So you wanted
perspective
safety
here.
and security.
Yeah.
Does anyone else, like, just so that I'm aware of like what everyone else wants, so I don't actually have any assumptions, like what do you guys actually want?
So I know my personal values. I've done a lot of values work, and the center and the non-negotiable is decadent safety and security as my number one value. And I am in the process in my life right now of understanding that nobody is going to reliably be able to provide that except for myself.
Mhm.
Okay, so you
So-
safety and security, you
But that's
Truth.
followed.
truth. So
Mhm.
you'd rather have truth over safety and security.
Truth makes me feel safe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Me too. Same.
So okay, so we have truth, safety, security. Okay, so let me tell you why. Men that have brothers, they would actually take that more than, like, for example, someone that they would actually want to start a relationship with, because a lot of you girls, because you guys have lived an amazing life, you guys probably felt deep amount of love. There's probably a point where the guy loved you a little too much, and then you just got like sick of him because he was so in their emotions. And this is just something that happens. It's like when men are like in love, they start doing stupid shit because they're no longer in their logic and they can't think about the future, and then they can't make you feel safe
That's
and
your
secure.
view.
But you're
Your view
equating
of
you're
men.
you're equating the point around being in integrity with oneself is a subjective experience and that's not black and white. You're equating that with someone who's just love struck and unable to be in integrity.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is the integrity piece in and of itself is being integrity with oneself first, not integrity
Okay.
with the black and white piece.
And what's everyone's like dating situation right now? Like, are you guys like with the man? Are you guys like seeing? Are you guys playing around? Are you guys working in your shadows? Like, well, what is everyone's like situation with the man right now?
It doesn't
No, it
sound
sounds
like
like
a
you're
genuine-
Is this a leading question leading to
Yeah,
another
no, I'm just, like,
question? Tell us
curious.
the follow-up question first.
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay, I'll have Sasha answer it because he's
I'll
nicer
answer
than
it.
me.
I'm looking for
No,
my
it's
life
okay if you guys are
partner.
avoiding. It's fine.
I'm not
We don't have-
avoiding it. Now you're
we can
avoiding
have,
my
like, some
answer to
other
it.
question
I really
if
wanted
you
to
guys
provide
want,
you
it's
my
fine.
answer. I'm looking for my life partner. I'm
Yeah.
looking for someone I can have children with. I'm looking for my husband.
Okay, and then just like in the past, what hasn't worked out about the relationships? Like, why wasn't that man that maybe you were with, how come it didn't like become that?
Oh, like all of the reasons? All of the reasons.
How long you got?
That's my answer. It like, how can I answer that in a few sentences?
No, it's just like, I want to listen. I'm curious. Like, what generally didn't work out when you thought that this person was going to be the person that gave you the truth to make you safe and secure? Why didn't it actually cut it?
Oh, because like I felt really safe with the man that I was with in that it was true, but what his truth was not what was true for me. So that it didn't work. We literally didn't work in how we wanted to structure the relationship. And it was because I wasn't living in what felt true for me. So I had to end that. What felt true for me was not what he was offering.
And what was
What wasn't he offering?
what was
Monogamy.
he offering?
Okay.
So he wouldn't be monogamy, or you wouldn't be monogamous?
He wouldn't be monogamous after telling me he wanted to and then not and then wanted to and not and then kind of bounced around
Very
for a few
integrity
years.
stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
But the
Well,
thing
it's not.
was,
That's the problem.
Throughout all of that, and this was the hard thing. This was the hard thing for me. Throughout all of that, I still respected that he would tell me what was true for him and what wasn't. You know what I didn't respect? I didn't respect myself. Because I was sacrificing my own boundaries and saying, yeah, let's try the open thing again. I'm sure I'll be fine with it. It wasn't and coming back to the self-sourcing safety, it wasn't that he couldn't provide me safety. He provided the truth of where he was at that moment and what his desires were. And then I had a choice point. And that I stayed with him. It wasn't because he made me feel unsafe. No, I made myself feel unsafe because I agreed to something that didn't feel good until it just didn't work. I agreed to being open and it was not okay for me. So even in that point, when we talk about like what I wanted from him, it wasn't the safety, it was the truth. I was getting that. What I needed from me was the safety. Does that make sense? Because if I'm safe in me and then go with my truth and follow that, that's how the relationship will also feel safe. But he can't provide that he can provide that for me in many ways, but ultimately what I want him to first provide is truth. He actually was trying to provide me safety in the moments he turned monogamous with me because he loved me so much. And it was not okay. He did not show up in his best self. He was not living by his truth.
But he was living in his truth when he told you, like, I don't want to be monogamous.
Yeah, exactly. So when he was in that,
right? I hear you
and
call
he
not
was
integral,
No,
but
no,
that
no.
is integrity.
No, yeah.
But
so
that's what I'm saying.
Integrity
It's
was
like
self first and foremost.
Yeah, but also he
Otherwise-
did the same thing. It's like, look, this is what I'm desiring. Those are my needs.
Yes.
This is what I'm standing for.
Yes.
This is how I would like my
Yes.
relationship
And so
to be
what I'm-
like. And it's the same with
and
like.
what I'm saying is like so it's not about that, is he providing me safety and security or not? Because when he was providing me the safety of trying to be monogamous with me, that didn't feel right because he wasn't in his truth around it.
course.
He wasn't actually doing it authentically. So I didn't feel safe in that at all. And I didn't feel safe in the structure of the relationship. Did I feel safe in him as a person? Yes, I do now. I could count on him for anything for the rest of my life, and I know that, and that's phenomenal after everything we've been through. He's a man of integrity in that way. It's just that he flipped about so much and also said some things that weren't okay at times. He's not like a hero. But the safety was about me and what I was allowing myself to be in.
And so I'm just going to go ahead and share like from a male's point of view, right? So for example, if I was going to go ahead and be monogamous with a woman, right? Like she would have to have some type of behavior that would go ahead and kind of change my behavior, right? Because it's like friendship. It's like you'll be deeper with one person and someone that you don't necessarily care about, you won't necessarily go as deep, right? And essentially how you change other people's behavior is you can't change who they are, but you react differently. So I'm like really curious in your next relationship, right? What do you think of man's point of view? What would a man actually want for him to actually be willing to be monogamous like with you? Like what would be...
I have no idea. It's up to him.
And also,
we could never answer anything for another person. That in itself is out of integrity.
If it's true for him that is what he most desires, great.
Regardless
I
of
literally
what she
put on my
does.
dating profile, if you're looking for open exploration, it's not for me. Let's not waste each other's times. And when that changes internally within me, I'll express that. I have like very clear things on my dating profile around it because I'm like, look, like we're just not a fit, right? Like I'm not going to try to fit a thing that's not a fit. Or I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that question.
So let me just then flip it. So then again, because I can't speak for other people, I can only speak for me, right? So every single man that's born, say they see like a beautiful girl, right? They see a beautiful girl and they want the girl. Maybe they see one of you guys and they're like, wow, she's like so beautiful. But he never actually focuses on himself. He never changes his behavior. He doesn't focus on making more money to create that safety and security. He doesn't focus on actually getting in shape, but instead every single day he's, playing video games and not actually on his mission or on his purpose. And instead of actually surrounding himself with people that could also protect, say, the village, right, and the woman that he is, he's out there snaking them to go ahead and essentially sleep with their friends because he's in scarcity and he just doesn't get girls and he doesn't know how to make money. So you can't trust a man that doesn't know how to get girls and get money, right? But if he wanted that girl... But if he wanted,
give me a towel for all the cringe I need to wipe off right now?
Can I share something?
let me finish. Okay, so
finish, and I would love
for
to share
example,
something.
so would you, if you see a man, would you actually give him a chance?
If I see a man?
No, when you saw the man that I described.
This exact man that you described, of course not, because it doesn't fit within a lot of my values. Not because of the point you're trying to make that he's a weak person and doesn't have...
No, that's not the point.
Also, I want to share something. Again, like what creates deep respect and trust in me and what makes me feel safe around people is being in alignment with truth, their truth, and also like truth of even in communicating certain words they're choosing to use, right? Like when someone said, I had this conversation with someone, when someone said, I ate like 11 slices of pizza when they had 3. To me, I'm like, Like, I get it, you're being hyperbolic and you're trying to make a point, but like even the use of words is, and this is drawing back to why truth is what really creates safety. Because I can trust the person. I'm trusting that they're in alignment with reality and their own reality. There's been integrity. And there's been a few times where you've said, you started that one sentence about that very specific like scenario. The first few words, and we can go back and look at the recording, everyone, rewind it, is you said every single man that's born. Okay. There's also something you said right at the start. And you said, you have never seen an 80-year-old woman who's really sad. And instantly what came up in my mind when you said that, I didn't know where you were going. I was like, maybe we have.
Yes, yeah.
So this ultimatum, very, very strong, like definitive language when you're making points is not helping the case of you. Like it personally for me, it's not helping the case for me to trust the words that you're saying and for me to feel safe in the points that you're making.
I'd love to add to that because I feel like you have a very strong belief that what safety and security for women means is like success, a good-looking man, and money. Yeah. And that is not the case. No. Safety and security needs to be asked directly to that person. What are the values around your safety, security? How do you feel safe and secure? What are the things that are non-negotiable in your life? Because those things can be like open communication.
Right. Or finances or whatever.
It could be anything on the spectrum. It is not limited. And then coming back to assumptive practice, right? Even if every single person at this table had safety and security as a value, it doesn't mean that that looks the same by any means for every person. Because safety and security for me could be the ability to be able to be naked in the forest at any time I want. That is what's going to make me feel safe and secure. Can you even as a man provide that?
It's the same. Like you can love me all you want, but if you're not loving me the way I want to be loved, the love doesn't matter. Like you're bringing all this to the table because you have this idea of this is how I'm supposed to show up as a man, but the person in front of you is requiring other things. It doesn't matter. It's actually, it has no value. Even
so I'm trying to get back to the point, right?
Value.
So the point that I'm saying, back to that cringe story, right, is if a man wants a girl and the girl doesn't want him, the man changes the behavior to actually go ahead and get the girl. He grows. He becomes better. He becomes a better version of himself.
Rather than
You know,
generalizing,
I would really love to just stop the hypotheticals. Why don't we talk about yourself or real life situations?
Because you started that conversation with, I can't speak for anyone but myself, but you continuously generalize for men, because I'm pretty sure that Pete doesn't resonate.
Maybe
I don't
Sasha.
know, maybe, or Sasha, but there's something here where it's like, you're generalizing.
Yeah, like,
and
what do
you can't
you guys
speak for
think?
the men here.
Yeah, get specific.
Maybe ask them, are you in agreement with what I'm saying? Or but mostly just speak for yourself.
Okay, so Sasha, what are your thoughts?
I actually have a question to all the ladies because I feel like
Keep diverting.
well,
so confused.
I think we're
some of the
already
best podcasts
one-
I've heard a lot.
I mean, I love this conversation. I love the heat here too, by the way.
Me too.
Coming back to the topic though, because I feel like we were diverting a little bit away.
Yeah.
And I feel like this whole integrity piece and honesty and truth and, you know, everyone throws it on the table. My question, connecting it to the topic, to all the three ladies, is in terms of that truth and that safety and security, whatever that means for you. If you have that man that you're pursuing now and that you're starting to date, right? Then you know before that he was dating one of the friends. Pretty much the question that we just had.
Literally in that situation.
So, okay, perfect. So then the question is, like, for you as a woman, if you look at that man that you know starting to date,
Well,
that has
first
not
of all,
been-
I don't really date. I've never really dated in my life. It's either on or it's off, and
Okay.
I'm very
Wrong person to ask.
semantics.
my
the
like
person that
boundaries
you're
and
with.
expectations of what I'm engaging in. Like,
Sure, semantics. So the
communication.
relationship that you're engaging in,
okay,
that man or woman in this case, right? If you, whatever the
I didn't
values
know
and
about that.
principles that are for you,
sorry, nothing.
whatever the principles and values that you want to live by, or actually that you want your man to live by.
I don't expect any other human to live by my values. My values are for me to live by on my own.
So-
I also have no expectation of any partner, whether male or female, to uphold those values for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like from any partner is for them to support me in being my most authentic self. And that is all. That is all I ask for them.
Beautiful.
Because
Yeah.
I am responsible for creating my own safety and security. I've made that mistake my whole life. So if you want to hijack like the relationship process, stop trying to provide women with safety and security and ask them how you can empower them to feel more safe and secure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's not really an answer to my question though.
So what is your question then?
My question was, if that man,
Yeah.
when we go back into is like, hey, is it okay to date your friend's ex, right? You're the
Well,
ex's
I'm
friend.
not in a committed
No,
thing.
wait.
So
Look,
I'm not in a committed thing. So contextually with that person that is in my mind, it doesn't work. I have
Okay.
another person who I am potentially could have that discussion with, but the context of the relationship is different.
the question is still the same. My question is, these type of values and principles that you would like to see in your dream man, your dream partner, the one that you're like, okay, I want to get old with him to be the father of my child. Do you think that this behavior, this action of dating his brother's ex is in alignment with the type of man that you want? So maybe we start there.
Yes, because he's in his truth.
Agreed.
I'm assuming he's in his truth. If I know enough about the situation that he is in his truth, and especially too if I know like how communication happened, 100% yes. That is within my value system to feel good about that person in that way.
I'd also love to ask you, what is your definition of integrity? Because integrity sounds really rigid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, in terms of a relationship or with myself?
It's
Is there a
same.
difference? It's
just
the
about
same.
Well,
with yourself.
let's
Yeah,
start
is it
with
not the
myself. So certain values and principles that I have, like truth, definitely up there, right? Truth and transparency is it's the only really important one. Love and truth. If you have that, you'll go far.
How do you know what those feel like?
Well, I know.
How
if
do you
I'm-
know?
I know if I'm out of alignment or if I'm in alignment with
How?
my actions.
Is it
How?
feel? Like, is it a feeling?
Of course, that's a feeling, and it's
So-
also like 30 plus years, 35 years of like having assessed and evaluated my life and all the mistakes that I've made, and all the good decisions that I've made, and then realizing, okay, this is a frame that I can walk in. I'm like, that feels good. That feels in alignment. That feels in integrity. And there are like some pillars that just deep down in the ground, and they're not going to change.
But so
Same
what
as
if,
truth will not going to change for you, I assume.
what if dating your friend's ex felt in alignment?
It wouldn't. Because
But what if?
No,
What if it
can't.
Because we continue to talk about hypothetical or this or that.
It's not hypothetical. I'm telling you.
Know.
Yeah, it
No,
wouldn't-
because like
it
I
wouldn't
have
for
that
him. It
intent.
is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm only talking about
So
that,
Sasha,
right?
so we met each other like 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Would you say we're friends? Ooh, tough question.
We're not friends.
Rejection.
We're
Great.
acquaintances.
Acquaintance.
It's probably a
At
better
what
word,
point
right?
do I become your friend? What would need to happen to qualify so that any of my ex-girlfriends were off the table?
That's not an easy question to answer.
Welcome to this podcast.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, in some regards, the fact that for you it's potentially perfectly fine to date my exes, that's already a red flag for me in terms of a deep brotherhood.
But you just said
So-
you're
And that's a green flag for
That's
me.
what I'm saying.
in
But he
terms of
asked me
wanting to
like if
date
we
him.
get into a friendship,
Yeah.
and he already like.
But
for him,
honesty,
it's
right?
possible that
Yeah.
even with
Integrity
his
in
friends,
self.
he would consider that.
So now he's.
But we're still not clear on your definition of friendship. At what point do I become your friend? Or does someone become your friend? A guy.
I mean, first, one of the most important levels of integrity that need to be there is transparency and honesty, right?
Sure.
So that makes sense. If we don't have an open channel of communication, that makes sense.
Sure.
If your ways of how you live your romantic relationships and how that in this specific topic translate into the brotherhood is not aligned, we're not going to become deep friends,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I'd love to circle back. Is brotherhood more important to you than a relationship?
Yes.
So you want to
Okay.
end up with your brother?
You wanna end up
You're
be-
okay with being on an island with just your brothers?
Yes. What like is a woman gonna go help me hunt?
We're not talking about.
I
hunting,
hunt a
though,
lot
like-
better than
like-
a lot of men. Probably can
Pick
beat
some
you
damn
and
good
build a fire
berries.
faster, honey.
Like
We will birth your lineage.
you were talking about
Legacy.
at the very beginning.
Legacy.
Joy, right? So at the end of your life, if you have not experienced love, which or deep relationship or whatever it is your romantic goals are, but you had your brothers at the end, you're totally okay with that because brotherhood is way more important to you than exploring that side of you.
I think in
The-
order
the
to
thing
go
that
ahead and
nature
in order to go ahead
is
and, for
natural.
example, start a family, like I said, it's like there's a double standard, right? It's
Do
like
you want a family?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's men have decades to go and figure it out. And to find a girl to start a family, if I focus on myself and, for example, like creating that safety and security for the people that I love, I can literally just go to like any village and just pick up a wife. But on the other end of things, like a lot of you guys say you want safety and security and you want some man in your life to be a partner, to be monogamous. But for
Or a
him to be
woman.
I didn't
monogamous,
say that. I didn't say that
Based
all.
solely on things that I've said, but again, it's like another hypothetical now. And a lot of you women have said, like, again, the language that's being used to make your point is making us trust you less in this conversation.
Hugely.
It's also, do you
And-
want something meaningful? Because it sounds like you literally just said, like,
Pick up
so
a wife.
caveman, I'm going to go and pick up this wife. I can have whoever I want. I'm going to pick her up. I'm going to take her. And she's
Impregnate
going to
her.
be mine. Yes, I'm going to impregnate her. And wife. But brotherhood. Like, do you want something meaningful? Do you want someone to fully see you? Do you want to be heard? Do you want to be seen? Do you want like, what do you want?
so everything that you described is what a woman wants, right?
Yeah, but what do you want? I'm asking you point blank
All-
because
all
you've
I said-
asked all of us what we wanted. Now I'm asking you, what is it that you want? Because to me, it sounds like what's most important to you is your brotherhood. So it's having something real and meaningful and an integrity with how you feel, right? We're talking about your body, your, you know, not just your mind and logic, right? I'm now asking you, be more in your feminine right now. Soften a little bit with me, right? What is it that you truly want?
So in order to get the family, I need to have that brotherhood before. And this is the thing. It's like when you were speaking, so I'm not going to go and generalize, when you were speaking about your relationship with your past lover and he expressed his truths and there were certain levels that he was willing to go and provide for you, as well as other things that he couldn't.
Yeah.
If I was in a similar situation and I was dating someone like you, I would have to go ahead and focus on then if I truly wanted to go ahead and be with you for a really long time and make babies and have a good time and also like share this deep connection and to give you that safety and security to empower you to go ahead and feel that, but also to physically keep it, because I can empower you all you want, but if we're like starving in the desert and there's no food and water, like I can only empower you so much until like I need to feed you, right? I would have to go ahead and make more money. I would go ahead, have to network with certain people. And I would need to go ahead and go through all of these stages to actually give you the life that it is that I wanted, right?
Unless you're from a family that's super duper rich and you've got all the money in the world. I'm just pointing a hole in this hypothetical because I'm not sure what point you're trying to make.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make the point without the hypothetical?
And also, why if you chose relationship, why automatically have you become weak? Why can you not provide all of these things? If you didn't have the brotherhood, you 100% could do it yourself if you really wanted to. Brotherhood is beautiful. So is sisterhood, right? And I said earlier, it's like it takes a village, right? And so we do need to support each other to get to certain places. But why wouldn't you have brotherhood if you did something that was in alignment with you and you did choose relationship, you chose commitment, you chose this life path of building a family? If that's what you truly want, right? Your brothers, and one would assume or hope that your brothers would also support you in that. Because those are the kind of sisters that I want. Those are the kind of brothers that I want that are going to support me if I'm making a decision that is in alignment with me 100%. That is not coming from my trauma. That's not coming from what life is trying to tell me or programming or whatever, right? Why have you become weak when you chose love?
When did I say becoming weak?
You didn't use the word becoming weak, but
So
you said
now you're using
no,
assumptions to go ahead.
But what
and
you said.
so now you're
No,
putting
no.
words in my mouth because
Well,
I'm
then
very
let me
curious. What did the weak word?
clarify.
Okay, so
You
please.
said.
What did I say?
Well, then I can't hunt and gather and I can't do this. And then if I'm here, then I need to make more money and I need to do this. Like you just completely dropped the fact that you right now, I'm sure you are a successful, high value man, as you have presented yourself to be, right? You have all of these things. What if you chose love changes that? What if you chose love makes you not have your brotherhood? Like why would that not exist in this world? Why can't you have both?
Have you seen a man who is deeply in love with a woman and he didn't get any aspects of his life settled and that woman leave him for someone else?
But that's not.
How is this I'm so confused.
I honestly like from what I'm feeling is like I just don't know if you believe in love. Like what? Like where? Why is this so rigid and so hard and like? I don't like. There's literally no magic coming out of you. Like I'm like. I would not want to, I don't know, entertain whatever would be involved with you.
Oh, that wouldn't happen.
That wouldn't happen.
No,
of
not
course.
at all.
Of course
Not even.
it wouldn't, because we're two completely different people with completely different views that are not in alignment with each other, right? But what I'm saying is, what if you were my friend's ex, but you and I were in alignment?
That would never happen.
That's a
Because I would
definitive.
probably not be
I'm
friends with
talking
your
about
ex.
a hypothetical.
What are you looking for in a woman?
Yeah.
Huh?
What qualities are you looking for?
To be fair, none of the qualities that I've seen here.
I'm
Like
not
if I
asking
wanted to
you
go
what
ahead
qualities.
and, for example,
That's not
protect
necessary
and
to
provide.
say.
Is that the
If I
question
wanted to go ahead and
asked you?
protect and provide for someone and actually like go ahead and work really hard, the last thing that I would want to come home to is constant discussions and negotiations
You want someone that
and
just
talking
like,
about
it's like,
feelings
yes,
all of the
please,
time.
Please,
That's a
come
requirement
home.
of being with a woman. Because we are
Yeah.
feeling
You want a doormat.
creatures.
So you want a
And
doormat.
we need to be able to discuss and explore our emotions. Okay. The reason Shiva is there is to hold an anchor for Shakti to be chaos. Okay. And anchor her chaos in like making magic from what's out there. That's the whole point. she needs space.
So you don't want her to have space to talk, to share, to
Yeah,
be,
explore,
to
create.
exist. You just want it to be a doormat for you to come home and be like, maybe I made us 1,000
I know where you can find her, Mike. I know where you can find her. We can send you back to 1940 and you'll have so many women available for you.
So many
And also,
options.
like, when you take off the table spending time talking about feelings as if that must only be about bad feelings, you also take off the table talking about feelings that are really beautiful and that would nourish you and that feel really amazing. Like it feels as if it's it feels as if
explaining
like
the feeling you get in
there's
that moment. With that context.
there's ways in which the rigidity or the anchor and the stability is coming through in, I think, what's being felt, rigidity, in such a way that it's like mostly what I'm feeling is just like I feel like this is your therapy session. No, like you're like there could be a space where you're blocking your own opportunity to love beautifully, and that's my opinion of where you're at within this, and that's okay for me to have, and it could be completely wrong and different. And I think it's just one opinion, but like there was a softness I was feeling around this conversation and this, but just the point of having to say, you know, it's definitely not here on this table. It's like, that's a really disrespectful thing to say.
It's a very childish thing to say.
It's very,
Like,
And
you
it
didn't have
just didn't need
attack.
to be said, because we're not pushing you down so much that you have to bring yourself up by pushing us down. That's not the point here. We're trying to have a discussion and like learn more. And I think the reason why there's maybe a little bit more tense energy coming through is because we've been existing in a conversation where there's been a lot of leading questions, and the questions feel like they're lacking curiosity in and of themselves. And then so we try to lead conversations or questions with curiosity, and then they're not being answered. And so it's very difficult to really get your stance on your own life and where you're at and what you want. And that would be really beautiful to explore. But it's yeah.
I also think
I'm
it's
very
like,
surprised actually, because I feel like many ways of what he shared was very clear. You might not like to hear it, right? In terms of like, this is the type of woman that I want. This is the type of brotherhood that I want to like create for myself. This is the type of life, the protecting, the providing,
but
and
there was no soul in it.
there's no.
There's
Can
no
we
soul
also?
and
I think it was more the hypotheticals around responses to what we share.
Right.
So like it was more he has a strong stance and he's like put that strong stance down, yes. But there also seems to be such a strong stance in responses to the actual conversation, not him talking, but him talking with us, that has felt like there's no chance
There's
to
no
be.
room for other
Also,
opinions.
it's like
Yeah.
like it seems like you want to have this integrity and love within the brotherhood, but outside of that, you don't care to show those like that side of you. So it's like even making that comment, it's like you don't care how we feel. But within your brotherhood, maybe you might. If he's talking, you're just like, yeah, Sasha. It's like you don't care to show another human like, I see you, I hear you talking, let me let you talk. But
I can relate to that.
You know what
though.
I mean?
So I would love to offer a point of relativity, speaking to like closing yourself to love and attaching yourself to your immediate relationships. It's part of the reason why I am not committing to any like situationships or relationships at this moment. There's like a minimum 1 year of this time is for me. That is because in all my life of monogamy, I've realized that I've externally sought safety and security from another person. And what that has done in one-to-one monogamous relationships is that has closed off my reality from having any sort of deep intellectual, emotional intimacy or relations with anyone else. Yeah. And that's not that's not something anyone told me that's not allowed. That was a programmed idea that monogamy and relationships are supposed to be like this. Like we're two people and we're going in the same direction forever and ever. And there's like nobody else can offer me anything that is going to serve me. And that is totally not true. And I am currently in a renaissance because I've realized that I've limited myself for 33 years of not allowing myself to have deep connections, whether that's friends or romantic or family or business partners, you name it, right? So realizing that, okay, humans we're not in partnership like this, okay? We're individuals, because even if you are with a partner for the rest of your life, at some point they might go through something and they have to come to you and say, look, the kids are in school. I have this passion. I need to go to university in Europe for 2 years. Is our relationship strong enough to stand that? We are individuals, and our path in relationship is actually like this sometimes. Like, it's like, okay, we're traveling together for a bit and we're going to cross, and now we're going opposite directions and we're meeting up here, and now we're traveling for a while together, and now I've got to go on the soul search over here, and I'll see you in a year. Like, it's not straightforward. And locking yourself into that paradigm creates a limitation to love, and it creates a limitation to your ability to experience. I want to circle back to you and integrity with friends, and like, you would put that off the table. I evolve and grow so much more than anywhere else in my life through relating.
Mm-hmm.
Who here has not grown or evolved through a breakup? Please, any hands? No hands? That's
Kind
what
of
I
like them for that reason.
right? So anytime we
level
say
up.
no to a relationship, we are saying no to a potential evolution, growth, lifelong friend. We're never going to get everything from one partner. You're welcome to spend the rest of your life trying. But in releasing that boundary wall I've put around myself for most of my life, that like this like intimate, authentic part of Yoshi is only available to one person, I've blown that wall up, and I am like, wow.
Look how much.
Look at how much
so much
love
out here.
there is in the world. I
Yeah.
get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Look at my need being met with this business partner. Look at my
Yes.
needs being met with this friend. Look at my needs being met with this
Yes,
project
yes,
collaborator.
yes,
Look at
yes.
my needs being met with this lover and
Yes.
this lover in
Yes.
authentic,
Yes.
clear, transparent communication. So I ask you, would you choose to limit your brother's potential for exponential evolution and growth through the possibility
No.
of relating?
No, it's not. I limit them. They can make their own choices. They're perfectly fine to do whatever they want.
So you would cut
right?
them out of your life because
think-
they chose to stay in their integrity and follow that connection, that magnetization towards something that is
No.
there for them.
No, they choose to potentially stay more in integrity with that romance where we don't even know where this is gonna go. Yes, might
Same
be.
with friendships.
Wait, let me speak. So this person, this friend, chooses to prioritize that woman, that relationship in whatever kind of capacity it might look like, and he deprioritizes the brotherhood that has been there for 10 plus years, whatever, and they make that choice. They can do whatever they want,
So,
but it just
Are
naturally
you
happens
asking
automatically.
are you asking your brothers to always prioritize the brothers over their intimate families and
they
lives?
they can do whatever they want. But I think it naturally then occurs, like you guys talk about like friendships are changing and everything is like moving and this and that. I don't think that's the way how a man operates.
I would disagree with that.
And
Like,
in your
based
head,
on
your
all
version
of the
of
men
what a
I've
man
been with
Can
in
I-
my life
can
so
I-
far.
Can I finish my
Yeah,
points?
Go for it.
Women operate very much on that level, right? Very emotional, very like here and there. Like there's a lot that's happening. You called it this beautiful chaos. And I agree. There's a lot of beautiful chaos in women, and they're the most powerful forces in this world. Like, don't get me wrong. However, a man operates differently. I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you agree.
I would
but
say
wanna hear- I would love
some
your
men
thoughts more.
some
Wait.
men operate differently.
Look, we always have to speak in generalities, right?
No, we
at the end of
don't.
the day,
We don't have
No,
to
no,
speak
no.
in
no.
generalization. Really?
Wait. The point why we have to speak in generalities at some point to make a point, because we can't take that exception and make it a rule. That's
I
a
don't
fact,
agree.
right?
In
because-
some people's life, the exception might be what your generality is.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But then we live in a totally different universe, basically,
But we
right?
do.
Yeah.
We all live
Everyone
in
does.
totally
So,
different
and
universes.
that's why you can see where certain brotherhoods are intact because they live in the same type of value system, and others like they're falling apart. Or someone chooses like,
They live
okay,
in
I
different
changed my
value
values.
systems. Yeah.
Yeah. So when someone chooses to prioritize another relationship,
Yeah.
another woman, and like wants to explore that for 1 year, 10 years, like for the rest of their life, that's perfectly fine. But then clearly certain values
Yeah.
within that brotherhood, they're changing. So that relationship automatically is changing. And that person can totally choose themselves if they want to do that or not, what's more valuable to them.
Yeah, I think I think we're always doing that. It's always, again, it's the choice point. Like,
Yeah, so why is
It's
it
all
why
about
is it so
choices.
demonized? I feel like there's a little bit of a
Well, because I
demonization
feel
of
like it
men
is.
having
You're-
this like it's just
you're
not okay between us and
You're
brothers.
choosing to uphold an unstated, undiscussed, like roster here or list of values that have not even been discussed or openly talked about within the quote unquote brotherhood circle, right? So for me, like that is immediately non-truth because it hasn't been like agreed by everyone there. It's a
Wait, wait.
projected value. And I mean, my bigger question of curiosity here is I'm just like, I'm so curious why you've got it down for the brotherhood and aligned values, and yet for women and partners you're so focused on characteristics. And I'm like, look, people are people. It doesn't matter if you're male or female or where you're from. At the end of the day, everything comes down to values. And if you know what your personal values are, at least your top 4 and your non-negotiables, then find someone who has 50% at least crossover with your values. And that's more important than anything because that will get you through the messes, which are inevitable in life.
So what's your point though?
My point is, I've heard both of you talk a lot about characteristics of women, right? And also even their values. But what are your values and how are you going into yourself in deeper identification of that and upholding and empowering yourselves to hold those values? And if those values shift in your own discovery process and they're no longer aligned with your brotherhood, what are you going to do?
It definitely needs to be brought up, right? Because if the brotherhood has a certain amount of and like, first of all, pretty much I told this in the beginning, like tough love, like everything is being discussed. Yeah. So there's no, and if something hasn't been discussed, there's no problem to bring it up at all. Like, you know, I just like 3 days ago had this like a pretty similar discussion with a friend of mine where like, he started dating a girl, and then she reaches out to me, and I was like, I don't know why she's even like, I called him. I was like, I don't know why she's reaching out to me. It's kind of strange. There was no flirty vibes whatsoever. I just want to check in with you first. Like, you know, what's really your situation, and like, how would you feel about that? And also at the same time, I told him, like, look, I would never date that woman. Only one, because we didn't have that flirty, like there wasn't that spark, right? And 2, I just feel like for me, for the friendships that I want to foster and nurture, that would be out of alignment with my value system.
So you put
what's
2
so wrong
points
with it?
there. It's so interesting that you didn't just lead with point 2 and only say point 2.
Okay.
Because you actually added in point 1, there was no connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even if there would be a little bit of connection, that wouldn't change my mind.
So
We're
why did
having
you add that
connections
into
and
point
sparks
1 and
all the
why
time,
was there
right?
2
Do I need
points
to act
there?
on this all the time?
Yeah, totally.
Right?
But
So
why,
that's the
but why
point.
were there 2 points there when you were saying that? Like 1, this, and 2, this. Usually when we list things off like that,
Because
it's
I
like
give
both
him
of them.
safety.
Oh,
There's-
because you wanted to express that to him. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, for me, that was important. So he knows, like, look,
Understood.
there's no vibe anyway
I
between us. But just so you know,
Right.
that happened.
Right.
Also, out of integrity, is like, I don't know if she's fooling around with a bunch of different men. I don't know if he
Right.
knows about this.
Right.
So I tell him these things.
Yeah.
And he was very grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying this is bad. Like, at least, like, that's not it. I think so many interesting, amazing topics have come up, and it's allowed us to go deeper into, like, what is integrity? Where does it come from? What might me be limiting within that? Again, that's
And where
not
do
even
we
a bad
apply it,
thing.
right?
Yeah,
When and where do we apply it?
And like, maybe integrity is limiting something somewhere, and that's okay, because it's like, we compromise on other things all the time. I'm limiting my ability to be running right now outside on the beach because I'm here. And I think that's what it's all about. It's that choice point, and are our choices really, really coming from what feels most true to us? And if what feels most true to us, our friend has come to us and said, hey, your ex, I really like your ex, and I really want to date your ex. And if within me that does not feel okay, the choice point in that is for me to say, that does not feel okay. I cannot continue a friendship with you in this. And then the friendship ends. And like, I don't know. I
and men
guess,
make that choice all the time, by the way,
and men make
right?
that choice
So
all the
they
time.
would
And there's
sacrifice
women
no
who
right or
brotherhoods.
wrong in that either.
Yeah, totally. There's and I don't think there's any right or wrong in that either. And that's why we're out here, like, on the table, like saying, yeah, in my situation, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. And I think that's what's juicy about it, is because what has come through is like, yeah, well, you know, in my situation, the connection that I want with my friends is one in which we can communicate this, and perhaps there is opening for this. And to me, that feels magical. And to me, relationships based on truth in that way feel magical. And like with my ex in that situation, that he was in his truth still wasn't enough for me to stay in that, because the situation didn't feel right. It wasn't even about the monogamy part either. It was about how it was being done in that way. But like, it was just like, again, like a friendship. He came to me, he shared with me, hey, I want to exist in this way. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for being truthful with me. That feels beautiful. I respect you as a human and I still love you. And that does not feel okay for me. Now, it wasn't said in those type of terms, but that's how it feels and how it continues to feel, because that's how I hold him in such high esteem now and such value, because it's like, okay, but this relationship as it was cannot continue like that. And that was really sad, and I grieved that. And I am so much happier for me and him that we didn't try to continue something based on the loyalty or trying to fit in each other's value systems, that we just, okay, different value systems now, and we move on. And I think that happened with that relationship is also an example in my case as well. That happens with my friendships as well. And for me, for me, the undercurrent of it is the truth part.
I totally hear you. And I think the only thing to add to this that you said in the beginning is like, you still look at him as like, there's a lot of value that you have for this man, right?
Totally.
Because he stood up for his values and his principles.
Exactly.
So
much respect.
if someone does that and it's like, okay, I like that relationship, I like this type of way of having my brotherhood.
Yeah.
Why is this like, no, that's not okay. That's like, but then at the same time, if someone actually holds themselves to these standards, whatever standards they set for themselves, you know?
Great.
Can I share a reflection?
Yeah, of course.
So I've been kind of like chilling and listening a lot, and one interesting. So Mike really made a really good point earlier about the piece around being at the Tantra retreat, and there's like these 7-year-old women who, like in your view, had lived life a certain way and now were regretting it, because they'd held a belief system and a value system for that long, and you'd seen the results of that. And so I suppose what I'm curious about is, what do we do, or more specifically, like what will you do if the value system you're very certain on, it seems right now, you reach 70 or 80 and you go, shit, maybe I actually didn't get it right?
So the thing is, I've actually seen it, right? Like over the past year, I've been just traveling, and for the sole purpose of finding people that have actually a value system that the relationship actually worked out, because I believe love is beautiful. I believe that people, it's just nice when you have, you know, that person, right? But it's like, from my experience, everyone else around me, they would say they know the truth, but like after a year or 2 or 3, it would just end in more trauma and more trauma and more trauma. Every single time trauma happens, it's like, of course, it makes you stronger, but then there's some type of scar that now prevents people from actually coming back in, right?
Shadow work. Scream it out. So what I'm asking you is, what would you do if you got to age 70 or 80 and realized that this value system you've subscribed to, which you say is yours, doesn't hold firm, and you realize, shit, actually I missed out on 50, 60 years opportunity to really experience like a deep connection with someone?
So I've literally met people that have had the exact same value system as me, and they look happy in this moment in time.
So what would
in
you
their 70s or 80s.
What would you do if you arrived there
you.
with this value system and you weren't happy?
But
and you
how is
wasted all
that
time?
possible when you put yourself in the equation?
Because it's you.
It's you.
No,
It's
but
would
your
you do?
experience.
The point
I would
is
probably
though,
cry and be
look,
sad.
I can answer this because like it's a really good question, and I think it's very simple. Like, one, you would be perfectly fine with that, and you would accept the fact that you might feel sad.
No,
and
you would be.
unhappy.
I wouldn't be.
Okay, wait a
So
second.
I would be.
But
To speak for I.
okay, fair enough. I would be, and I know he would very likely be too, because the point is like, during this whole time when you had these beliefs, you were so strong, you considered all the data points that you had, you made your choices, and you live with the choices, and you live like you take responsibility and accountability for these actions that you've taken. So then when you're like 70 or 80, it's like, okay, throughout this whole time, I have been in alignment with truth, with my values, and I live by that. Now I know better. Okay, fuck. But it's like, I don't have to like beat myself up for it, because I know like I was in alignment and I believed in these things very strongly.
So what's interesting is,
So you accept it.
Sure. The thing is, right, if I'm
Thank
not
you.
open to hearing other opinions, how can I consider all options?
it doesn't sound like he's not hearing any other opinions. He's even observing other people and their relationships and like what kind of where they're at in their life, what kind of belief systems they followed, and how their relationship and family looks like now. So I feel like there's a lot of consideration, not just on a verbal level, communicating,
externally.
but observing. Absolutely, yeah.
So
absolutely.
what about internally? How do you feel?
How long have you lived in Bali?
3 years.
Okay, so I've been traveling for a while. I've been traveling in Thailand, Bali, lived in Phuket, lived in all of these like places where there are a lot of relationship dynamics, and I've literally tested it. So I can only speak from experience, right? It's like I can't go ahead and, for example, judge a vegan person if I've never actually felt the pain of what it would be like to have the problems where vegan would be a solution. Same way if I was a vegan, I can't judge a carnivore for like eating meat had I've also been in that point. So I'm only speaking from personal experience, and I've literally tested a lot of different relationship dynamics, and I've literally searched for people who had the relationship dynamics that I wanted, right? And after literally testing everything from going deep into Tantra, howling at the moon in Ubud, to like dancing freaking naked in Koh Phangan, like after going deep and deep, like I have a very extreme personality. So if it's like, if I have something that I think would be the answer and I go deep, like I'll literally go ahead and put my entire heart and soul into it. And if I go all the way in that process and I realize, wow, I'm so happy. And my Tantra teacher and coach that I paid money for, essentially she's like, actually, Mike, you know what? And she's a woman. You know what? Actually, I think you're sharing too much of your emotions. Actually, I think you're leaving the mystery out of the table. Now you're expressing too much. If I'm literally going ahead and trusting in the universe and going deep down all of these different relationship dynamics, and then the person that I've followed, right, years later essentially tells me, actually, no, all the things that I told you isn't wrong. And now that I look at it, every single relationship that I attract is a weak man. And I started realizing, oh, here's a woman with a man teaching me and my partner on how to have a relationship. But when I look at the woman's results, every single woman that she's attracted is a weak man. So if she's going to go ahead and teach me all the things that she learned, and I also open up my relationship and have her teach my partner at the time, if I'm going to go ahead and want to make a lot of money, I'm not going to listen to someone that like is teaching me out of textbook. If I want to go ahead and get in a good shape, it doesn't make sense to be getting advice from someone who isn't in a good shape. But we look at it in our relationship, like we have people asking us and telling us advice every single time on what they think that you should do. But in relationships, how come we never look at the person and ask, well, what is a relationship like with men and women, or women and women, or men and men like? And I realized when I went in deep in all of these things, and I went deeper than most just because of my extreme nature, I realized that the people that I was taking advice from, for my value systems, wasn't actually the relationship that I wanted. But yet I trusted and opened up because this is Bali and everyone is just doing these things and everyone just wants to feel this need in community. And I personally wanted to feel like this need in community to connect. So when I opened up and I connected and I was doing ecstatic dancing 5 times a week, I'm not wearing shoes and I'm constantly earthing and I'm doing all of this like spiritual work and shadow work and breath work 5 times a week. When I literally tested the extreme told me, actually, you're doing too much. And then when I looked deeper in that, I realized every single person giving me relationship advice didn't have the relationship that I wanted. And that's specifically why I left Bali, because when you're here for 4 years and you look around and everyone's telling you all of their relationship things, it's many times coming from a moment of extreme right when they're running away from pain. So you're seeing them right as they're going towards another extreme. When in, like, for example, Taoism, it's like the Tao, it's in the center because you can't live life in extremes. And after just living life from extreme to extreme to extreme to extreme to extreme to extreme, even though this may seem extreme, this is literally my center after traveling for the past year, just finding people, men that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s, and 80s with a track record of a beautiful relationship with an amazing woman that respects him, where he's literally sacrificing himself to go out and make sure she feels safe and secure, with a beautiful family where the kids are learning from the parents' trauma so they don't relive the exact same pain. From what I've experienced, from my personal experience of just finding that and literally taking all of the money that I've made to just give it to people that were way smarter than me, and just dropping my ego and realizing I don't know everything. I don't know anything about relationships. But my worst fear is to wind up at my deathbed and realizing, fuck, I fucked up. And to not do the due diligence because of some decision that I made decades ago that I just wish if there was someone that just would reach out and tell me, hey, you know, it's like, this will happen. It will close you up. It will prevent you to go ahead and bring love in. If there was someone, some big brother, some person that essentially would have told me earlier on, then I wouldn't have to feel all that pain, right? So that's literally what I did. I found people that had the belief systems that I wanted. I saw a track record of, oh, wow, here's literally 40, 50 years of just beautiful relationships where love is felt and you feel connected and you empower them to feel safe, but also you're just so inspired to just give so much to this woman and your family. After finding that, and I fucking tried so hard to find that, and I found multiple instances. From what I've learned, it's literally in this value system that I'm adopting right now.
Thank you, bro. I fucking love that. I love that. And it sounds like you've been on quite the journey. Like, I get it. I think we all here have been on some kind of fucking digging up the roots and finding what's underneath. What I'd love to propose is this idea that no one outside of you has the answer for you. Only you have the fucking answer for you. And like, you can take advice and you can try things, but only you're going to be the one who knows the truth for you. And I think that's kind of what we've been all in our own way touching on in some way in this podcast, is that, yeah.
And he did touch upon that too, in that way, you know, trying things on, and this, like, and it's through observation, it's through experiencing what we don't want that we create more discernment and understanding of what does feel good for us and what we do want in that.
And I just love to say as well, I really genuinely hope that you find that for yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like you're investing energy into that. And I think if we're investing it and we have a heartfelt like desire for that, we will get closer and closer to what our version of that looks like.
Beautiful.
What a beautiful
2 hours to wrap this up. I feel like if I have to recap this right now,
Good luck.
Don't even.
It was like 2 hours, 2 years in
look,
Bali.
I'll do it this way, because many of you don't know, I grew up in this, I just grew up in a house full of harmony and full of love. And I've never been around any fights and arguments, really. You know, if there are disagreements, we sit at a table, we talk about this. So fights is just nothing that I've ever experienced in terms of family dynamics and romantic relationships in that regard, that I've seen the way I was raised. And for me, one of these biggest elements, what I've been able to observe in my parents, and then even how they treated me, is these values that I'm standing very strongly for, and whatever they individually stood very strongly for, and how they enforced their boundaries in a very respectful way with each other. That's the key element, besides love and truth, obviously. So whatever everyone thinks here in terms of their relationships and whatever they want to foster, you know, I think for me, the recap, the essence out of all of this is just getting very freaking clear. What are your values? And what are your principles for whatever kind of relationships? Doesn't matter if it's a brotherhood or a sisterhood or, you know, family relationships, but then also
Sticking to them.
don't sway around.
Yeah.
Like once you find that, then also trust yourself. Those are my values. For me, that's like,
people
that's
don't
my
realize that.
personal, people like, of course I understand,
Yeah.
like people have different ideas. They change their values all the time. And we can talk about this, how good or bad that is. But for me personally, having these values and like really sticking them in the ground and standing up for them and fighting for them and making sure, because that's like where boundaries are coming from too. You know, like we got to fight for those sometimes. That's the key element actually to create harmonious, beautiful, loving relationships, not just romantic ones.
Yeah, we get to live in our own worlds, and you can choose who you want in that world.
Yes.
And everyone chooses different.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you. This was a nice heated conversation.